It seems like progress on the upcoming survival horror game Nightmare Operator is moving along nicely. The game recently got a Steam page, which gives us a look into some of its lore and mechanics, and boy do I like what I'm seeing here. I'm playing through Signalis right now, so this whole low poly, pixely sci-fi survival horror vibe has been on my mind lately. Let's go through all this new info together as we drool over these futuristic retro graphics. The year is 2036. Humanity has declined. Misha is a public safety operator, a contractor for the provisional government tasked with hunting yokai and protecting the quarantine city of Shin-Chiba. Within the haunted ruins of Tokyo, she unearths a mystery that could unmake what remains of civilization. So, a pretty classic setup here. Part of the city has been completely shut down, now overrun with yokai, or the spirits and urban legends from Japanese folklore. It's our job to figure out what's going on and put an end to it. All the locations in the game are actually based on the real-world districts and neighborhoods of Tokyo, so you'll see some famous landmarks as you explore, and if you're familiar with these areas, you might even recognize some side streets and alleyways. You've probably noticed by now that Nightmare Operator is super action heavy, especially compared to traditional survival horror games where slow and steady generally wins the race. In the developer's words, combat fuses the tense shooting gameplay of classic survival horror with the skill-based mechanics and execution of fighting games and spectacle fighters. All of this really comes together with what's called the clutch system. Misha's gun is completely modular, and switching between weapon modules will help you dispatch enemies more quickly and efficiently. Each one has a different elemental damage type or status effect, like freeze, stun, or bleed, and you'll collect more as you explore the city. By using fighting game inputs, you'll be able to quickly chain together combos in a way that I haven't really seen before in a game like this. So obviously, combat is a very important part of Nightmare Operator, but as it is survival horror, there will also be puzzles. Remnants of the provisional government's proprietary technology can still be found scattered around Tokyo, and a lot of this is going to be important to progressing in the game and solving puzzles. One example is with these resonant locks, which can only be solved by matching the correct pitch, filter, and distortion settings of a given sound sample. Again, playing Signalis right now, and I'm betting the devs at Distortion have taken a good bit of inspiration from that game. But definitely keep an eye out for any suspicious glowing gadgets because they can almost certainly be interacted with. Now it actually seems like the game will be mission-based rather than one continuous story like we had in the early Resident Evil games. Directly from the Steam page, between missions, Misha and her team have nomikai, which are like work parties where you're allowed to drink, at a local izakaya in the quarantine city, which is like a pub or tavern. These sections will allow players to explore archives from the broken world of Nightmare Operator, interact with the inhabitants of the quarantine city, and drool over low-poly izakaya fare. So, just another way that the game is reinventing the survival horror genre and adding some new elements to it. I personally love the idea of having a dedicated place to take a breather and relax, aside from just a few save rooms scattered throughout the map. If you visit the developer Distortion's website, you're greeted with a simple message: creating nightmares. And that's what I like to hear, exactly what I signed up for when I added this one to my wish list. All the enemy designs are definitely creepy in their own unique way and are different from the usual zombie-like creatures we see in games like these. The game is currently being made by a 5-person development team based in Tokyo, and of course they are hard at work on their first game together. The more I learn about Nightmare Operator, the more excited I get. I'm always looking for new survival horror games to add to my collection, especially ones that do things differently. If you're feeling antsy and don't want to wait for Nightmare Operator to come out since it's probably going to be a while, I did just put up a review for Crow Country, which has a different vibe but is filled with puzzles, exploration, and secrets, and is a survival horror game I highly recommend.